Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, good morning, Christine. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started because I know that there will be people that just come back and watch this later. But I'm Claire Mason and I am a sales director with Mary Kay. And Christine had asked me to share about a week ago. You're welcome, Christine. And when she did, I immediately said yes, I'd be happy to share because I love to encourage people, and I just know that when someone says that they're on your heart, that it is no accident. And so I immediately came on here because Christine had added me to this group a couple months ago when she first started it. And it was when the pandemic was just starting, and I remember after the first couple of weeks being kind of overwhelmed with all the different voices, all the different things coming at me, and I just had to quiet all the voices. And so I took myself I just haven't been visiting social media a whole lot in the last several weeks, so that I could hear the one voice that I needed to hear. And so all that to say that when she asked me to share, I just thought, I need to go on there and just understand who am I speaking to, what is it that they need to hear, and who's been speaking before me so that I know that I'm kind of in line message-wise with what her intentions are. And so I jumped in here and I clicked on videos right away, and I don't know if you've ever done that, but it shows you all the faces of the videos that have come before that day. And what I saw was all the familiar faces of all these top women in our company, directors and national sales directors that I completely recognize, that are friends from afar, that I learned from, that I highly respect and admire. And I caught myself thinking, whoa, what could I possibly share that would ever be at the level that any of these women would ever share? Not just in their performance, in their businesses, but even spiritually, all of those things. And I could feel myself reeling like, is she sure that she wants me to be the one that shares on this group? And but thankfully, I've been doing enough work on myself that I caught the thought. And 15 minutes later, I was fine. And so then I thought, you know what, that would probably be a really good topic, is to talk about comparison. Not really comparison, but just owning who you are and not looking to the left and the right of what other people, what their strengths are, and just remind yourself of how you were created. And so that was my topic. And then this last weekend happened with all of the unrest, all the craziness that is still going on right now in the US. And I thought, yesterday I messaged Christine and I said, I don't know if my topic is now relevant, because maybe we should be addressing this. Is this something that people need encouragement about? But I have prayed over it, and I know that the one thing that we all have in common is that we're all walking through the same storm, but we're all in different boats. And so today I'm gonna address you being in your own boat and being really firm and standing firm on what is important to you and who you're supposed to be through not just this situation, but not just through the pandemic, but through life, all through life as well. And so I'm sitting right now outside my house, and if I were to describe this place to you, it is a platform that is outside my house, attached to my house. It goes the length of my house, and it looks out. I'm gonna see if I can turn this around. It looks out east to the valley and mountains out there. And so if I were to ask you to just define what is that, obviously it's a deck, right? And so when the architect designed this house, they did not intend for this deck to be a storage space, right? Can you imagine if we were not using this how it was intended? The purpose that the creator had for this deck that I'm sitting on is to be able to enjoy this view, to live life out here as well. And so I heard this story several years ago from Bishop T.D. Jakes that I love, that has really stuck with me because I love word pictures. He said that when you're going on a trip, where you're going, the journey you're going on, how long you're going, the destination and who you're going with is going to determine what you pack in your bags, right? So I want you to think through, if you are going skiing, your luggage is going to probably contain things like boots and cold weather clothing, right? If you're going to the Bahamas, completely different bag packed. And then if you're going on a trip with girlfriends, versus a trip with your kids. Different supplies, right? And so what he said is that when God created you, just like the architect of this house, he had something specific in mind. He had a vision of what he believed that your life was going to look like. And because of that, he packed your bag with specific strengths and talents, specific characteristics that were going to be designed specifically for the journey that you're going on and the destination that you're going on. This last weekend, I've talked to a lot of my friends, and one of my friends is not only a mom of a 9-year-old but she's also a 911 operator in the city of La Mesa, which is in San Diego. It happens to be the city, a city here that there was some serious rioting and looting this last weekend. And she said that it was scarier than the calls that she takes every single day, but she was fully equipped because of what she's been doing her entire life. As a 911 operator, she was fully equipped to be able to ease and calm her son's fears and knowing exactly what to do in the situation she was in. So God created her with the gifts and talents that she has, specifically for the things that she has done in her life, maybe for that one moment, who knows? Okay, so back to my little story, right? So I sat there for a few minutes with doubt creeping in, and I decided, you know what? I need to do what I know that works for me. And it is part of my daily habit, and there's 6 things I do every single morning, but 2 of them applied to this, and so I went back and did it again in that day. And the first is gratitude. And so every morning I write down 10 things that I'm grateful for that day, whatever comes to my heart that morning, and it just sets me on a different path, right? When you're focused on what you've been given instead of what you're lacking, you walk through your life differently, you walk through your day differently. And so in that moment where I was doubting, what don't I have that all of those other people do have, it reminded me, oh, there goes my dog, of all the things that I do have, that I do possess already, that makes me uniquely qualified. And then the second thing that I do is I write down qualities about myself that make me me. And I've been doing this for a couple of years now, and so every morning my list is long. I have 50 qualities that are strengths and talents of mine that I know that if I can think through the filter of these are the reasons why I am doing what I'm doing right now and why I will be good at this, it just sets me straight. Okay, so again, we know the qualities of this deck, and if we were, instead of using it as a deck to look out on and to enjoy, if we were to use it as a storage space, it would be not fulfilling its purpose as a deck. It would be used, but it wouldn't be what it was created for. And so I want to ask you, do you know what it is that you are good at? Do you know what your strengths are? If I were to just ask you to name 10 things 10 qualities about yourself that cause you to be who you are and why it causes you to be uniquely qualified to live the life that you're living right now and to live out the dreams that you are going after, the vision that God has given you, would they just flow out of your mouth, or would you get stuck? That would be my number one question for you. And I believe that this is something that you can really work on. That it's a skill that you can learn and get better at. I once heard Andy Stanley say, so this is the other part, is that I thought, okay, so I started actually looking, I can't believe I'm even admitting this, but I actually looked at a couple of the videos to see which ones had a whole bunch of views, not to compare, but to just listen to what kind of message were they saying that maybe I should consider so that so that more people would watch it. And what I felt so strongly in my spirit is this one thing that I heard Pastor Andy Stanley say one time. He said, as a leader, my job is not to fill your cup. My job is just to empty mine. And who we affect and who we impact, that part's not up to us. And I'm not even just talking about just this message, but in our daily lives, in our businesses, in our personal lives, it's not our job to figure out how people are going to react to us. It's to simply empty who we are for the purpose of furthering God's kingdom and allow God to figure out the actual results part of it. Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of examples of things that I've seen that we sometimes question who we are, but we're better than we think, and we have purpose for more than we realize. So prior to Mary Kay, and actually even woven through my Mary Kay business for the last 16 years, my previous career was in global events. And so I've had the privilege of doing a lot of things around the world. And in 2008, my client happened to be at the Beijing Olympics, and my client happened to sponsor Michael Phelps. Might have heard of him. It's only the most decorated Olympian in history, swimmer. And I'm telling you about him because he obviously was living out who he was meant to be in that moment, but actually it's not about him right now. What I want to bring to light at the moment is his mom. I happened to be able to, because he was a part of our sponsorship, I spent some time with his mom. And I asked her one day, I actually thanked her. I said, Debbie, thank you so much for raising a champion. I said, I know sometimes it looks like this is just a worldly thing. He's going after medals, but the truth is, by being the man of excellence that he has been in that time frame, he's changing the sport of swimming, and because of his platform, he gets to voice concerns that other people might not be able to. And so, I mean, now since then, really he champions water safety, saving water, and mental health illness, because that's one of the things that he had to overcome. And what she said to me is that, honestly, Claire, I wasn't trying to raise a champion. I was just trying to help my boy. She was a mom, she was an educator, and she said that even before kindergarten, he had such a hard time focusing. He was always getting in trouble. First grade, second grade, third grade, was always getting in trouble, and he was finally diagnosed. They finally brought him to the doctor. He was diagnosed with ADHD. And his suggestion to her was to find some things that he might be passionate about. Just test it out, see what things he might get excited about. And when they found swimming, she found it was the one thing that could keep his attention and his focus for hours. And because he could do it there, he could also do it in school, and he stopped getting in trouble. And so what she said is, really, I was just looking for a solution for my son. And the thing is that, you may think that your purpose does not seem like it's going to be world-changing or allow you to stand on a podium on the world stage and, be awarded a gold medal, but what if you raise up the next child who changes, makes some changes in this world? What if what you do just, helps your smile, anything that you do impacts other people? And so I will never forget her telling me that. But I also recognized, no one is successful alone, and every part of the puzzle makes a difference. Okay, then the other example is I have this friend, Jamal, that I grew up with, and he's African American, but when we grew up in another country, we really did not experience any kind of, I looked at every international, my friends were all from all over the world, and so we really didn't experience any of that, and neither did he until he came to the US. But because of how he grew up, he went to college, he got his master's degree, he did all of this without all of the, turmoil or the obstacles that he might have had he grown up here. And for the last 20 years, he's been championing mental health, suicide prevention, drug abuse in at-risk youth. And so he has been uniquely qualified, not just because of who he is, but also what his circumstances were. To now, this moment right now is even more important for him. And in the process, he and his wife have raised two amazing children, one of which is his son, who on Monday, I can't believe he has a son that is already 18, but he was asked to, or he decided he was going to arrange a massive prayer vigil in Tucson, Arizona. So I got to watch his little speech on TV, and he was talking about how God's love and peace and just voicing what is right is the way to make changes, not senseless violence. And I just thought, there are very few people that would be uniquely qualified to raise him to be exactly how he is in order to make the changes that he will clearly make in the next who knows how long in his life and his future. Okay, so you might be thinking, great, I get it. People have a reason and everybody's purpose matters. But you might be thinking, so how do I know what was packed in my bag? I have found that this is a process, probably the most valuable thing I've learned since in the last 16 years of my being in my Mary Kay business. And we also may think that it's wrong to highlight what makes us great, that it's we kind of shy away from that. But my perspective on it is this: I believe that God created me. I believe that God created you. And so by highlighting and learning what makes me uniquely me, what I'm really highlighting is God's brilliance. You are God's masterpiece. So when you learn and use your gifting according to how his purpose, then you're actually honoring him. And how can you do that if you are not willing to be aware of what it is that you are great at? So these are 5 things. I had to write them down. 5 things that and it's definitely not an exhaustive list, but just some of the things that I have done over the last several years to kind of just really get to know who I am and how God wired me. So the first is, I already mentioned, is gratitude. And I want to challenge you to write things down. Not just like think about it, what am I grateful for, but literally write them down every single morning. I've always operated out of a grateful heart, but in the last 3, 4, actually I guess I started in November, so it's already been 7 months. I've not missed a day of writing 10 things I'm grateful for, and it just has brought me to a new level of abundance, really, not just in what I get, but in how I operate. The second thing is to listen. So pay attention every day to the things that you do well that you don't even realize that you do well. And I think one of the ways that I have figured that out is what are the things that you don't think about? What are things that you do every day that you don't think about, that if someone asked you how to do it, you'd be like, what do you mean? Don't you just do this? Like, there are things that are like that. And right now I have no example coming to my mind. I'll have to come back to that one. But the third one is to ask. So ask the people around you and pay attention to the people around you, the ones who love and support you, and ask them, what is it that makes me uniquely me? What have you observed about me that makes me different or makes us the same? What do we have in common? So if you're in a room full of accountants, everyone in that room is going to probably be good at numbers, right? If you're in a room full of, I don't even know, I can't even think of another example, but numbers is like an easy one. But so if you take yourself out of that positioning of being surrounded by all accountants, then someone else is going to notice that you actually are good with numbers. That's not something that everybody has. It is something that is yours uniquely. But if someone ever asks you, how do you do that? That's a clue. So one of the things that I'm going to just tell you a couple examples for me. Something that people always ask me is, how do you know that? How do you know so many things? And my initial response is, I really don't know a lot of things. I don't know what you're talking about, but I have forced myself to ask myself that question. Why do I know a lot of things? It's not that I know a lot of things. It's because one of my traits is that I'm resourceful. I don't know all the answers, but I always know how to go find them, and I'm willing to go find them. So that's one of the things I write down every day, is that I am resourceful. Another one, we were at an event with a bunch of my girlfriends, and we went to the gym. And after we were done, I handed out God thought cards to all the people that were there, and I just watched as each person is affected by the card, the encouragement that you give them. And my friend was watching kind of like just from over there. And when we were leaving, she said, you know what? You are a gatherer. And I remember thinking, what? What do you mean I'm a gatherer? She said, everywhere we go, you pull people together. And Christine, Jesse, that is completely one of your traits. You are a gatherer. You bring people together for community. And so what I do when someone gives me a compliment is I write it down and I think to myself, is that true? Like, is that something that is true just right now? Or is it something that is true, like it's a pattern in my life? Do I always gather people? Yeah, actually I do. And then I also one time had my mentor say to me, we were in a situation where there was a conflict that needed diffusing. And when we walked away, she goes, how do you stay so calm? So when people ask you questions like that, how do you do this? That's a clue that might be a trait that is unique to you. And I remember thinking, I don't know, what are you talking about? That was just like, that's how you do it. And after conversation with her, what I came up with is that I am level-headed. I have the ability to step back and be objective, take my emotions out of a situation, and then come up with a solution. It's just part of who I am. It doesn't make me better or worse than anyone else. It's just something that if I am aware of it, then it allows me to understand where I can be of the most help in my life. Okay, then next one, which actually should have probably been the first one, is to pray. Get quiet and just continue to ask God to reveal to you, what are the things, how did you create me? What is it that makes me me? And I believe that you will hear in your spirit, you'll see the patterns in your life, the situations that maybe you've been in, that it's been the same qualities that have allowed you to succeed in it. And then the last one is kind of an odd one. It's going to sound odd, but it's the third-party assessments. So things like Strengths Finders, taking the love languages, those things I write, those are part of what I write. It's when I didn't exactly know what my strengths were, I started with those first because I felt like it was something objective, like I took a little test and it was something that I was not deciding, and it reflected back to me like, these are some qualities that you have. And when you find those, then is to ask yourself, does this resonate with me? And if it is, then own it. Begin to own who you are. Okay, and then before my last thing, I just want to add in one quick thing, and that is when you are affirming other people. So we have the ability to find out who we are, but we also have the ability to help other people uncover what makes them unique as well. And so what came to mind is my nieces. I don't have kids, but I remember when I first was learning about this, to applaud the performance, but affirm the person, affirm the qualities of the person that actually produced the performance instead of just the performance. So for example, my niece Shania is a beautiful dancer. She was a competitive dancer when she was really young, and I remember dropping her off and she would practice probably 20 hours a week. She invested so much time and effort into her dancing that I know that when she was dancing on that stage and when she won the competition she won, it wasn't because she did great that day. It was all the time, all that she invested in it. And so my affirmation to her was, oh my gosh, that was such an amazing performance. You were so beautiful out there. But you know what it is that makes you a champion? It's because of all the time that you dedicated. You put so much care into your craft. And it's the endurance and the investment in it that I know is going to be not just something that makes you a great dancer, it's going to make you a fantastic person. It's going to make you a champion in anything and everything you do. And do you know why that is so powerful? That was when she was like 13, I think. And now she's 21. She hasn't danced in like 5 years. So if I would have just said, you're a fantastic dancer, what happens when she's no longer dancing? Does that mean she's not fantastic anymore? Of course not. But when you can affirm the qualities, I can still affirm her for the same exact qualities now that I did back then, and they're the same exact things that are going to cause her to be successful in whatever it is that she does. So that was just like a little plug on that. Okay, so my last story is this. I have no idea even how long I've been going right now. Michelangelo. Okay, so you might have heard of, or maybe you've seen, this beautiful statue in Florence, Italy called the David, and it is a gorgeous marble statue. And one day Michelangelo was asked, how did you create such a masterpiece? Like, how did you even envision this? And what he said is, because you start with this big block of marble, and what he said is, I didn't create anything. I saw an angel and I just freed it. I set it free. And so the thought behind that is, he was always in there. David was always in that block of marble, and the only thing Michelangelo didn't create it. He just chipped away everything that wasn't David. Well, one of my favorite verses that I posted in the post here is Matthew 5:14, and it says, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house." You are God's masterpiece, but perhaps life, circumstances, people, negativity has maybe added extra marble onto your body. Maybe you are a light that has a bowl sitting on top of it right now. I don't know. I think that we all have a little bit of that, if not a lot. And so I want to challenge you to begin the work of chipping away everything that is not you. Chip away everything that is not God's masterpiece, and allow yourself to own the strengths and own the talents of who God created you to be. And just like with this deck, there are clues. There are clues as to what something is created for, right? The characteristics of this deck dictates what the purpose of it was. And just like this deck, you have specific strengths and talents that are going to give you clues as to what your purpose is. And so, so this is what I'll leave you with. Whether you've been highly successful or not so far in your life, whether you feel like you're at the end of your career or the beginning of your career, it does not matter. What I know for sure is that there is still more to you, and there's more in you, and there's more for you. So have a great day, you guys.